I'm starting to hear from friend groups right now, and they said, I've been hearing that Pierre Poilievre wants to ban abortion in Canada, and that's why I just can't get on board with him. And so, obviously, the three of us on this conversation know that's BS and so untrue and so not a part of what they're talking about. But the messaging from the Liberals and NDP have been very effective in painting him with that, because the people I'm talking to, like people I respect, and the fact that that's the narrative that they're getting is very interesting to me, that this is working. What are you seeing out there?
When all else fails, bring up abortion. Pierre Poilievre is actually in a really unique spot. And I was thinking about this today, how much it must suck to be him, because he is like the worst person on planet Earth when it comes to women's rights, apparently, according to the left. And then the worst person on planet Earth when it comes to social conservatives, because the left is like, he's going to take away all bodily autonomy and ban abortion and ban freedom of choice, which during the pandemic, anyways, not even going to get into that because it's not worth it. But anyways, they're like, yeah, like bodily autonomy is like our number one priority now. And the social conservatives are like literally on their websites, like Campaign Life Coalition, which is one of the biggest not social conservative, but like abortion, like anti-abortion advocacy groups. And they're like, don't vote for Pierre Poilievre because he's pro-choice and pro-LGBTQ ideology. And it's like, he cannot win. And then the other day, his wife was on Instagram doing like a Q&A, and someone's like, what's your stance on abortion? She's like, pro-choice, and just like so casual about it. And it's like, there is like this divide in the Conservative Party that people from the outside don't necessarily see. But it's like, you think Erin O'Toole wasn't annoyed as all hell when Kathy Wagenthal introduced that private members bill on sex-selective abortions before the 2021 election? It's annoying, but also if you're going to be conservatives and talk about freedom and talk about the ability to vote on things of conscience, like you praise, and, you know, I have my own thoughts on things, but limiting elected officials and what private members bills they can put forward is not one of them. When you're in government, you're a team player, and Pierre Poilievre using his ability as the prime minister to say, listen, if you're in cabinet, you're not putting forward any abortion legislation, and we're also not passing it, fine. But it's a sacrifice, right? If you want to be putting forward sex-selective abortion bills or whatever it is, you're going to sit in the back bench, which she probably will, and you can put forward whatever you want, but we're not going to pass it, but we're going to allow you that democratic opportunity to still put it forward if you so choose.
Right. And it's funny. I don't know if there was something that came out in the last week or 2 weeks about it, because when Josh had mentioned this before the show started, I said, I had the same conversation like with another individual. And she was like, well, we all know what, it's funny because she used your line, Josh. She was like, we all know what happens in the States just comes right up to Canada.
Yeah.
And she's like, we thought abortion was safe in the States. And she's like, now it's going to be under attack in Canada because Pierre's he's going to use the notwithstanding clause to pass abortion. Gosh. I was like, oh, there's so much wrong with this statement.
Arnold Viersen, a conservative MP who is one of the like social conservatives, I think he's backed by one of the interest groups, not 100% sure on that, put forward a petition last week in the House of Commons with 47 signatures to like bring up abortion. But again, he's elected MP. He brought up a petition that was brought to him. Like, we can't start micromanaging to the point where we're picking and choosing, because where is the line drawn?
Yeah.
But Pierre does have this unique work cut out for him. He's going to be managing them in his caucus like Stephen Harper did. I would say that Stephen Harper is more socially conservative than Pierre was. So I would say you're going to see less of that under a Poilievre government than you did under a Harper government. But I mean, if Liberals were this concerned about it, they could have regulated it under the Health Act like they did plan to do. They promised to do it and they didn't do it.
Right. And it's just funny because we even witnessed that when we were at the Strong and Free conference, and they would mention some kind of social issue, and you'd see 3/4 of the room cheer for it, and then, you know, 1/4 of the room sit down, and then you'd have the opposite come up. I think it was like with the conversation with Tony Abbott and
Boris Johnson.
I was like, stupid hair, what's his name? Anyway, and then you just see the other room, like side of the room, just like cheer for one thing, and it was hilarious because it was like, wow, this umbrella is wide. It covers a lot of people. And so,
it doesn't just cover conservatives either. And I had this conversation with someone the other day. I work a lot on child welfare work, Bill C-92, which is giving autonomy over child welfare back to the nations. one of the largest conversations right now is, when does life begin? So we're talking about child welfare, and we're talking about protecting kids, especially if they're apprehended, keeping them within the community. But there is a very real conversation right now, because a lot of Cree, I'm Nihiya, I'm Cree from Saskatchewan. In our teachings, we believe that the concept of life begins at conception. So it's like we're having this conversation all the time, where we're like, okay, we also need to protect pregnant mothers and ensure that we're giving them the resources and whatever necessary. But it's like, if someone comes to me and they're like, yeah, no, like that's not, because really it's like one of those open conversations right now where people are like, well, when does life actually begin? And it's like, it's a cultural thing as well. It's not just a social conservative thing. I've never like crossed over, like I've never had any conversations like this with social conservatives, because I'm not a social conservative. But it's just interesting, because it's like, that's something in my teachings. Like it's,
Yeah.
you know,
one of the funniest things I actually heard was people saying like, oh, if you actually believe that happens, life begins at conception, they're like, that's when those child benefit tax credits need to start flowing. And I was like, you know what? That'd actually be really helpful. That'd be really great.
That was electric, wasn't it? Well, we enjoyed it. Hope you did too. If you did, you can check this video out here to the top right corner right near my window. Get over. There it is. There it is right there. And if you liked that, you can also check this one right here. We love you. Have a good one. Peace out.